right? So we're going to talk now about units, and I'm going to talk about metric units. And specifically, I'm going to talk about metric units involving length. Now, metric units are used pretty much the world over. The metric system is awesome, and you're going to see why very shortly. But the nice thing here with the metric system is it's all based off of powers of 10. And you can tell how big or how small something is by prefixes. So your base unit is the meter. Now a meter is it's I'd say approximately 1 yard. It's a little bit longer than a yard. It's about 39 inches. So that's a little bit longer than 1 yard. Now, the other thing that you're going to run into this is so this is our base unit, but then we've got what we call prefixes. And I'll go from small to large. And honestly, there are a lot more prefixes than what we're showing here. But say I want to go for something very small. I've got a milli. A milli is 1/1000th of whatever the base unit. So you could have, a millimeter. You could have a centimeter. A centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. And we usually say cm for centimeter. Now, you can also have, well, you'll notice that these are powers of 10. I've got a thousandth of hundredth. Let's go for a tenth. And with that, it's a deci. So that's 1/10 of a meter, dm. Our base unit here, like we said, is just our meter. And then we start to go into larger things. So it doesn't tend to get used, but we also have things like Daka, a Dakameter. And usually, well, since we've got another D here, it's usually going to be a capital D. That is 10. So this is a millimeter would be 1/1000th of a meter, centimeter. This would be a Dakameter would be 10 of whatever these units are, meters. Then I've got hecto. That would be 100 meters, HM. Then we've got kilometers, kilo. A kilometer is 1,000 meters. And these are our basic types of units. So you're going to see millimeters, centimeters, decimeters, meters, decameters, hectometers, kilometers. Now, the cool thing is, because all of these are powers of 10, you can convert between your units of length simply by moving your decimal point. But I also want to, but so your unit conversions, for your unit conversions, you're going to move your decimal point. The digits themselves won't change. It's only where you're going to move that decimal point. Now you can still use something like a unit fraction. So if I wanted to say, okay, well, if I wanted to say, okay, I'm going to take, say, 32 centimeters and convert that to meters, I could say, okay, I've got 32 centimeters, and I'd have my centimeters and my meters, and I know that it takes 100 centimeters to make up 1 meter. And as with any of these, I could cancel my units here, and then 32 divided by 100, this is going to be 0.32 meters. I'm just moving that decimal place two places to the left. Well, this is actually, in some ways, this is the long and harder way of converting. A lot of what we're going to do is, since all we're doing when we're converting between two units in the metric system is moving our decimal point, we just need to know how many places. So let's talk about that. And I'm going to give you guys a mnemonic here to help us remember. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. I'm writing myself out of space with my fat pen here, so I'm abbreviating that one. But that's going to be that kilo, hecto, daka, whatever our base unit is, the deci, centi, and milli. And since this is all meters, that's kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. And when we have this, this gives us a map for how to move our decimal points. So say I were to take this same thing and say, okay, I wanted to go from 32 centimeters to meters. Okay. From centimeters to meters, I move my decimal place 2 places to the left. So that was 32, and I move that 2 places to the left. 0.32. Let's do this again. Say I want to go from, say I've got 0.4 kilometers, and I want to convert this to meters. Okay. Oops, I meant to do this in a different color. No, that's okay. If I go from kilometers to meters, that's going to be 1, 2, 3 places to the right. So that 0.4, I move that 1, 2, 3 places. So that 0.4 kilometers turns into 400 meters. Cool. Say I've got something like 2.7 centimeters, and I want to convert that to millimeters. Okay, centimeter, that's where I'm starting, to millimeter, that's moving 1 space to the right. So that moves 1 space. That 2.7 is going to turn into 27. It moved 1 space to the right. Say I've got, say I could do something even weirder. Say I've got, say I want to go from oh, this would be horrible. I could say I've got 220,000 centimeters, and I want to convert that to kilometers. That's going to be centimeters to kilometers. It's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. So that would move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would turn into 2.2 kilometers. So again, that was moving 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my decimal point would move from there to there. Now, this list of units is not exhaustive. There's a lot more units. And if you've heard of it also, this is going to help us when you start dealing with other types of metric units. So if I move into weight, the base unit becomes grams. So we'd end up with kilograms, hectograms, decagrams, decigrams, centigrams, and milligrams. And you've probably heard of, kilograms, grams, and milligrams. Those are the 3 most commonly used. But other things, other prefixes that you might run into, now I'll bring this up just for completion, are things like there is mega. I'll go from big to small, or, well, actually, yeah, might as well. Like mega. Mega is 1 million of something. So if I have a megameter, that would be 1 million of a meter. There's giga, which is a billion. So 1,000 megas. In the other direction, I've got things like, I've got micro. So, and by the way, so if this were meters, this would be megameter, gigameter. And you've probably heard of these mostly in terms of, say, bytes. Well, 1 million bytes, 1 billion bytes, megabytes, gigabytes, things like that. Well, there's also things like micro. That is 1 millionth or 1,000th of a meter. And this uses a slightly different, it uses a kind of an unusual symbol. It looks a little bit like a U. So a micrometer or a micrometer uses something like that. There's also nano. A nano is a billionth. So 1 over, and that would be a nanometer. Things like that. Alrighty, I just want to bring that up just to let you know that there are more ways of doing this, and there's some other things that you might need to move your decimal place, say 9 spaces to the right instead of to the left, or whatever, or 9 spaces instead of just 3. Alrighty, that's all I've got for now, and I will see you in the next recording.